Well, first of all, thank you, Daniel, for inviting me to share a story that comes from my training and my early career. I would consider it the story of how the five secrets saved my life. And the setup here is intriguing. This was when I was working for the Veterans Administration Hospital, and it was the geropsychiatry ward, and it was a closed ward, meaning that patients couldn't come and go as they pleased, but they would come to us often because they had fairly significant mental illness, often dementia, where they would be prone to wandering off if they didn't have the safety of an enclosed environment. It was officially for folks 55 and up, and all veterans, all male, many of them with health problems, and we, I think we did an excellent job serving them, provided for their mental health, but also for their physical health, dental, we did it all. And really enjoyed working with the veterans there. And one day we had an unusual admission, a fellow who was quite different from the other folks on the ward, folks with Parkinson's and dementia who had walkers and were, barely able to get around. And this was a big strapping guy from the mountains. I think he was about 6'9", 350, no fat on his body, and he had bipolar and was currently manic. And the story we got was that it had taken several police officers to subdue him. That they'd received a call from his neighbors who were concerned about his activities, where he was up late at night making a lot of noise in his home. And when the police arrived, they noticed that he had ripped out the floorboards of his home with his hands, and then gone to work on the pipes with a sledgehammer. And the home had flooded. This was another concern that the neighbors had expressed, that there was water streaming out of the front door of his home. So they were pretty concerned about him. And eventually they were able to get him into custody. And when they discovered that he was a veteran, they said, oh, well, we'll make sure we put you in contact with the VA hospital. And they sent him right on over, and we received him. But we weren't quite set up in this facility for this type of situation. So again, he was he was, I think the cutoff for admission was 55, and he was 56, and far more powerful and aggressive than any of the other members of the unit. So we assessed him, and there was a room where we would meet with patients who were new, and we assessed him. We looked at his hands that had been kind of beaten up by ripping the floorboards of his home out, and got the nurses to address the wounds and things like that. And then we talked about his medication options and things that we could offer him to settle down a little bit, to feel better and get some sleep, which we thought he needed. He hadn't slept for several days. And the interview at that point seemed to go pretty well. He was like agreeing that this was helpful to him, and he was saying, yeah, I'd like some medication to feel more calm. And all the nursing staff and other folks left, and I remained to complete my note. I was writing my note, and I was reading up a little bit about him. He'd performed very admirably in the military, and in a way was a war hero. And I was just kind of reading through his notes, and he'd served in the special forces, seen a lot of active combat. And then A few minutes later, he came back in to my office and closed the door and locked it. So there was no other exit to the room. And then he said, it's wrong what you're doing to hold me against my will, so now I have to kill you. Now, I'd been studying the 5 secrets of effective communication with David Burns, and practicing those quite frequently. And I realized this was a good opportunity to use the 5 secrets. And I didn't have any other choice either, so I was highly motivated. There was no way I could have left the room. It's a far larger human than me, better trained. I could have tried to run through the window maybe, but I thought that might have also not been a good idea. And so I turned to him and I said, I think you're absolutely right. I so admire you. You fought and you defended our country and you fought for other people's rights. I think it's totally wrong that now your rights are being taken from you. If I were you, I'd be feeling so angry and so hurt by this. I feel angry on your behalf. I just have so much respect for you. And I said, I'm a little scared because you're a big guy, and I think you could totally kill me. But I hope that you won't. I'd rather just sit and talk with you a little bit about what this has been like for you. Would you mind having a seat so we can talk it over? Because again, I think what you're saying is so true. It's just wrong to have your basic human rights taken from you. And he agreed, and he sat down and he started to talk about what was troubling him and what his experiences were like in his life. And I continued to just offer listening and acknowledgement of his feelings and his experiences. I just used the 5 secrets. That's all I did. And I was so relieved when he finally fell asleep there in the chair, sitting in the chair. He dozed off. And I took the opportunity just to exit my office and was able to talk to the attending on the unit and say, I think we need to I don't think he's safe to be here. He's currently quite manic and threatened to kill me. And but it was in a way just a wonderful connection that I developed with him. I really still to this day think very highly of him, and I'm sad that he went through anything like what he did. And eventually he was transferred and treated in a unit that was safe for him. But that was my experience, and I'm glad to share it. I hope it's helpful for other folks.